to have a few questions.
Yes. So we know you're going to start a 2-day session, and we are only invited for the opening ceremony. So a lot of things are going to take place behind closed doors.
Yes, but we are at your disposal also tomorrow at the end of the works, if necessary, and if you would like to have more comments from the World Water Council. First, I would like to say that the Council and its Board of Governors, coming from more than 20 countries, I mean for the board, we are very pleased to be in Qatar. It's the first time for us, and we are very honored to be hosted by the Qatari government and by the National Food Security Program. The Council is the most important organization in the field of water. It gathered around 70 governments and 350 international organizations. His role is to try to be the voice of water. What means to be the voice of water? It means that we try to convince the political leaders, but also the economic and social stakeholders, to place water as a real and concrete priority on the agenda, on the global agenda. Because you know more than others in Qatar what is or in this region, what is the problem of scarce area. You know scarcity, but in other regions you have more problem of excess of floods, of water, with floods, with tsunami, etc., etc. So our role is to help the political leaders to make water a real priority, step by step. And we were with chairman of the World the Qatari National Security Food Security Program. Mr. Atia. We were in Rio de Janeiro together, before in Seoul in Korea, to say to the political leaders how it's important to join food security and water security, because you cannot develop any food program if you do not have the water.
Sir, one question. Last week in Rio de Janeiro, you mentioned in your press conference that you need a greater commitment from the governments. Can you elaborate?
You mean generally from all governments?
Yeah, I mean what commitment are you looking out for?
First, this presence in Rio is following the World Water Forum in Marseille, in France, in March, which was gathering 20,000 participants from 170 countries. We mean first that the governments have to adopt the right to water as a priority. We are entering in a campaign asking for all governments to place water in their constitution, because water is an essential right. Secondly, we ask to say to the government that sanitation is also very important, and not only water resource. That's a long cycle of water, and we need to restitute to water, to nature, water in good quantity and good quality. That's part of the messages that we have delivered in Rio de Janeiro.
Sir, my question is, how many billion of people in the world do not have access to safe drinking water? And see, this mobile phone, it has reached to a person who does not have access to 3 times meal.
Look, I prefer to have taps in front of me.
Sir, people do not have access to food, but they have mobile. But why not water?
It's the same. I know 10 years ago I was saying in a press conference, taps before guns, which means we would like to push civil budgets and not military budgets. And the same with mobile, taps before mobiles. It's not taps against mobiles, but there's priority in life, and water is needed for life. You can perhaps stay 1 day or 2 days without your mobile or our mobile. So, you know, the public action is made of choices, and water has to be one of the first choice. That's very important. That's the reason we are pushing for water priority in the governmental budgets, in the national one, but also in the local authorities, because in a large part of the world, it's not exactly the case in Qatar, but in large part of the world, that's local authorities which have the competence of water more than the national governments.
In this country, where water is a very precious resource because it is desalinated, more than 95% of the country's requirement is met through desalination, but conservation is always on the back burner. The nationals are being given water free, water and electricity free. So which means 250,000 people are getting water and electricity free and the rest are paid. So would giving anything free attach any value to it? So what is your...
There's different aspects in your question.
This is one of the highest per capita consumption in the region.
1,200 liters per day by a national and 300 liters by an expat.
I know. Let me try to answer, because it's a very complex question, and there is different questions. The first question is the question of the resource. You are one of the only country in the world which doesn't have any resource, water resource. So you are obliged to create resource, mainly by desalination. And what is interesting is the project of Qatar to try to recharge the aquifers through desalination, which costs a lot, obviously. But if you are able to create a permanent water resource by which to recharging, I think it will be very important for the future of Qatar, giving more autonomy on water resources. That's the first part. But you could have more and more water offer if you don't change the consumption, it will not work. So you are, I don't say wasting, that's not me to judge, but you are consuming. You are one of the states in the world, also in the Gulf, with US consuming around 1,000 liters per person. Like in US, for example, in France, my country, we are consuming 180 liters per day. In Africa, sometimes 40 liters. So you will have to enter, your government will enter, and there is a great consciousness about that, in a water demand regulation plan to oblige everybody to consume less, agriculture, services, industry, and the citizens, to try to decrease your consumption step by step. It will not be at the level of Europe in 1 year, but step by step I am very confident that you do. But I have seen, I've discussed a lot of time with Mr. Elatia about this issue. There is a great consciousness that you have to manage better and consume less.
So one more question. In the light of what you have mentioned, is it critical that Qatar has got this opportunity to host this conference in 2018?
Up to Qatar. Ask the question to the Qatari authorities. We will have now a competition open for 2018. We will launch it probably in October or November. I understand that perhaps Qatar would like to be a candidate, other countries also. You are very experienced about large competitions concerning very great events, so we are waiting for the decision of Qatar about this World Water Forum in 2018.
How many countries are competing?
It's not open, but I think between 5 to 10 will present their interest, and after will be in 2013 the time of the real candidature.
The bidding process will start in 2013?
We have two steps. First, interest, and after the real competition with the bidding 2013, 2014. The decision will be taken probably in November 2014.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, just my last.
The lady has a question.
Just a follow-up to his question, actually, because with Qatar recently hosting the Gulf Water Conference and then with the upcoming COP18 by the year end, how significant is this two-day meeting with you, and how different will it be from the other conferences, water conferences? And what are the main agenda which you want to push forward during this meeting?
Everything is linked. Climate change, food security, water issues are part of a global challenge concerning the future of our world. And I'm very attentive to Qatar efforts to be in the center of this challenge. One of the nations, not the only one, but one of the nations, which is very interesting. I've said yesterday during our welcome cocktail to Mr. Alatia that Qatar is a country with a small size but with a great heart, because you are part of all the works today concerning the future of our world. And I think it's also a good thing for the Qatari citizens, because they can understand they are part of the world. They are not alone. You are not a state which has a lot of money, a lot of financial capacities. You also are citizens. They also are citizens, and they have to be as world citizens, not only as Qatari citizens. So that's the reason we are very pleased to begin to work with the Qatari government, and we have different ideas for the future, but I let Mr. Alatia to develop these ideas during the next days.
Sir, keeping in with the water scenario here, what are the chances?
Last question.
What are the chances of Qatar winning this bid?
I cannot say.